Hello. Well, I thought some of you might like to see what a Hoover Turbopower 2 looks like in little bits. Some of you may not have seen the innards of a vacuum cleaner. My earlier video unboxed this and I highlighted a few rust marks on the machine, so I thought best open it up, check the motor's okay. Fortunately, yes, the motor is lovely and clean. Not a hint of rust because it's been obviously nicely sealed in. One thing that was rusted though was the motor pulley. So I've removed the rust there. There's a few marks left, but the rust is gone. There was rust on here on the shaft for the front wheels. So that's all been removed of rust and nicely lubricated, and now the wheels actually spin much better than they did. Actually, while I'm about it, I will put a bit of lubrication on the back wheels. The end caps of the agitator, again you can see they're marked where the rust was, but I've got the rust off. They've been treated as well with a anti-rust spray, and although it was pretty smooth to start with, it does seem, after doing that, it does seem to be even smoother. So this is the Turbopower 2. It's not too difficult to get apart if you know what you're doing. When I first took one of these apart, I didn't really know what I was doing, and then I eventually found out. This is the belt, obviously quite stretched, so I won't be putting that back in the machine. You can see where it's in storage, you can see there, that's where it's been on the motor spindle, and it would have obviously been on there when the machine's assembled. So when I put it away, I will leave the belt out. I've got some new belts for that. So here's the motor. Obviously the suction fan is all sealed in here, and there's a little ducting here that goes into the bottom of the bag, so the suction is drawn through the bag, through the hose that's attached to the back. And of course we've got the motor spindle on the other side. So to get to the motor, if you want to know, you don't have to take the base off. I don't think, anyway. I did it quite quickly. We've got the motor hood here. If we look underneath, I don't want to tip it up with all the, that's the little foam diffuser. So basically the motor hood is fitted with 4 screws. Oops. Hang on a minute, what's the next on here? That's the way, I'm putting it around the wrong way. Obviously there's a little pointy bit at the top which corresponds with that. So it's 4 screws, 1, 2, 3, 4, but these 2 screws are hidden by this piece, which fits there, and that's just clicks back into place. You have to be careful when removing that. There's 2 little lugs either side, and they fit in here and here. I won't click it back in now, but they click down into place. Actually no, it isn't just a click fit, it's screwed as well. I wondered what those 2 extra screws were. There are actually screws, so you do have to unscrew. I think, am I showing you the right thing? There's 2 screws there that's spare, so I'm assuming that they wasn't paying much attention when I was taking it apart, but anyway. So that fits back on there. I'm not going to do it all for you. You got your base plate here. That was a bit stiff to remove because this seal was a bit stuck round, but it came off without damaging the seal. The motor hood was easy enough to take off. There's 4 screws. You have to take the agitator, you take the base plate off, and then you take the agitator out, and then there's 1, 2, 3, 4 screws to undo. Also, you need to remove the height right knob, and then the motor hood just comes off. So I'm pleased with that. It's cleaned up quite well. So I've just got to do a bit of lubrication on those back wheels, because they could sound smoother. And then I'll reassemble this machine. I screwed the motor hood back on, and no, those 2 screws that I found, thinking that they were for this, aren't for that. They're for this piece. So basically, although there are holes where you would think you could put 2 screws, Hoover obviously thought it wasn't necessary, because you don't need screws. You just have to be very careful with a screwdriver a bit smaller than the one I've got, and just move those lugs to one side and it'll just come off. So that's, if you're flummoxed, how do you get into this motor? That's the first thing you do. Now, that's all okie dokie pigamy pokey. Here we've got the chassis nicely lubed up, and we've got to now put the chassis together with the main unit, and the chassis is attached in 2 places. There's this metal piece here. This is another piece that was showing rust on it. So again, I've cleaned that up. It's nice to see a metal piece, isn't it, in a Hoover vacuum cleaner? You don't see that often. Certainly not in the stress points where you need metal pieces. Fortunately, this is the underside of the foot release pedal. Just a very cheap bit of plastic. It'd be nice if that was metal, but they're not so problematic on the Turbo 2s. On the Pure Powers they are, and probably still are. But because it has quite a nice pedal on the Turbo 2, it doesn't seem to cause any trouble. So, let me see how you do this. I think that goes in first, the metal piece. And then for the other side, they have done a piece of plastic, but it's quite a strong piece of plastic. That actually fits over this bit here. And then we've got to, first of all, locate, or do we? No, we don't. Let me see. Put that there on the end. Then, yes, it's just a case. They are quite easy actually to get apart. So then we just do up the 2 screws on this side where we've got the plastic round piece. Not over tighten them. And then we've got the other side, 2 screws. So really, I'm not sure if you can buy carbon motor brushes for the Turbo 2, if the motor ever went. I did look, you can still buy the complete motor. It's about £133 on the website I looked at. So, not very economical. So there we have the chassis connected to the main unit. The main unit's connected to the whatever. So there we go. I think we've done everything we need to do this way, but we'll put the motor hood back now. So I've got the height right knob. Now I did put the screws in each corner of this so I knew which hole they went in, but fortunately all the screws that hold the motor hood on are the same. But I've just dropped one, a screw that is. Whoops, there we go. You can have a look at the motor hood, made of ABS plastic. Some more dates on this one. This has got the arrows between 91 and 92, and the other arrow is pointing to 1, so I assume that's January. So there we are. Motor hood just fits over. Make sure this upright piece that the height right knob goes onto, you just have to make sure you get that slotted in. Don't force anything, that's properly in position. Might as well put the height right knob on now. Not sure if that's the right way. I don't know if there's the wrong way, but they both seems to be the same. So I think you can put that any way you want. Doesn't seem to make any difference to anything. And then we'll then turn the machine over, and then there's 4 screws we've got to do up. 1, 2 at the front and 2 at the back. I'll just loosely do up the front ones so they don't get lost. The back ones are a bit trickier. It's helpful if your screwdriver is magnetic, which mine is, so we can guide it into the hole. Again, I'm not fully tightening yet until I've got all the screws in. And then the other one, whoops, you see they're not very magnetic, this one. Let's try and get it in the second time. There we go, come on. There's always one that doesn't want to play ball, isn't there? So that's it. I've probably done this cleaner a favour by taking it apart and reassembling it, because I'm sure on the production line they won't have taken quite so much care, because obviously they had to work at a certain pace, they had to produce a certain number of cleaners per hour. So there we are, that's all in place. Now this is the point you change the belt, but I'm not, as I say, I'm going to pack this away now, so this belt I'm just going to leave off. But they are very tricky. When the belt's new, it is quite a stretch. You'd have to locate it first on the agitator and drop the agitator in. There's only one way it'll go in. There's a round shape that side and an oblong that side, which correspond. And they go into, it's nice, they're metal. Where these slot into, they're metal. On the Vax dual power carpet washer, I had some problems with, and I've done a video of how to change the belt on that. Everything's plastic on the agitator, and that's something. Just got the brushes, that's something you have to be aware of. I've got the brushes caught underneath the end cap. That's it, so that's fine. It's all rotating nicely. But you know, they're metal, and that's it's metal on metal, and that's where you need the strength, where you've got the moving parts. But sadly on many vacuums nowadays, I'll leave the belt in actually, but I won't hook it on. So you'd put the agitator in, make sure the belt's not trapped, make sure the agitator, and then it's the question, this would be easy because this belt's stretched, but on a new belt you have to pull it quite a lot. But actually no, the easier way is actually locating it on the spindle first, then you put the belt on. But like I say, this is going to be stored away now, so I'm just going to unhook the belt. Make sure that's in correctly. There we are. Let's leave the belt loose in the bottom. Next job is to put the base plate back on. Again, plastic, but they've been plastic for many years. You have to locate, there's lugs here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lugs at the front, and there's sort of a lip at the front, so you've got to locate them first. That's it. Once they're located, you need to push back down. That's fine, that will screw down. And then again you've got 3 screws and they are the same size, so it won't matter if you mix the screws up because they're all the same size. But some cleaners have different size screws, and so you have to be aware of what size screw came out of what hole. Because if you put a screw that's too long, you might find it'll poke through somewhere where it shouldn't, and you'll be kicking yourself. So there we go. Obviously that's loose now because the belt isn't actually engaged on the pulley. Then last thing, don't need tools for this, got to put the quick release suction ducting cover back, and that has to be located at the back first. Make sure that that is pushed to the back as well. Locate it in the back like that, push down to the front, and then that's locked in place there. So I will just spray a little bit of lube into the shaft of the back wheels. I'll give that a proper wipe. Any excess you need to wipe away. You know, I'm quite impressed with the quality of this model compared to models you buy now from China, but it's not a patch, say, on a Seabo upright, which are still made to a very high standard, as most, not all, but most German vacuum cleaners are very well made. So there we go, got all the rust off, and it'll soon, once I give it a good clean, just a bit of a wipe over, I will be packing this vacuum back away into its box, adding some extra packaging though where it's needed, just to keep it pristine. So there, you know, not too bad for a machine, you know, it's brand new but a vintage. I think it's quite vintage anyway. I'm quite happy with that. I'm quite happy with what I bought this for. But this is probably the last time you'll see it, because it's going to go away and be preserved for I don't know what. I don't know why I'm going to preserve it, but anyway, I'm going to keep it for now at least. So thanks for watching, stay tuned. I think the next video up will be another Seabo, a Seabo C1 cylinder vacuum cleaner that's never appeared on my YouTube channel. So until then, it's goodbye from me.